Let's go to the ACC. Number 9 Duke at Florida State. 2 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. Haslametrics makes Duke a 6-point road favorite. Over-under of 152. Eli, you're right on with the AP poll here. You have Duke number 9 in your power rankings over at thelines.com. Florida State not ranked here. Pace is interesting to me in this game, Eli. Top 35 pace for Florida State. Duke in the top half of Division I. I think there's a lot to like about Duke's offense in this game, and potentially a lot to like about Florida State's offense inside the three-point line in this game.
That's interesting, because I kind of see it going the other way, going back to our conversation with North Carolina, Florida State, and depending on what number you got with Florida State at home in that one, and pretty much covered both games, unless you got a late number with the Noles. But looking at the Noles offense here, Duke's defense has actually been more reliable inside the arc and especially at the rim. You would think that because Duke doesn't have as much size against Florida State, and really overall, you don't have Derek Lively like they did, a rim protector and a shot blocker, which they had last year, and obviously going to the NBA draft. And Florida State ranks outside of the top 300 in three-point attempt rate. But like both UNC games, unless FSU just goes cold from behind the arc, I think Leonard Hamilton is going to scheme Florida State's offense to take more threes, and Duke is below the Division I average in three-point attempt rate allowed. So I don't want to consider them like a pack line defense, but they are going to give you more three-point attempts than they will shots, at least right at the basket. And also on the flip side for Florida State, defensively, for the Noles, if their ball pressure is able to create some turnovers, and I know that's kind of uncharacteristic for Duke overall, that you have a more reliable lead guard, or at least semi-lead guard in Jeremy Roach. Tyrese Proctor, probably the lesser reliable guard of the two between Proctor and Roach, but still, I think his turnover percentage is around 14-15%, so not bad by any means. But if he makes some uncharacteristic decisions against FSU's ball pressure, which can create turnovers, and FSU is able to leak out in transition and get some of those open threes on the fast break, as you mentioned, pace is going to be a pretty big factor if Florida State is able to play up tempo, then I make this game around Duke -5, just considering the spot, with Duke winning 6 of its last 7, FSU losing 5 of its last 7, so Duke probably at the peak of its market rating, despite only losing to North Carolina in its last 7 games. I kind of like FSU here if they're able to control the pace.
If I'm betting this game, I'm probably looking to the over, even though it's a high number. It looks like it might be in the low 150s. And again, if you want to see what I'm betting on these Saturday games, you can go to thelines.com, top right-hand corner, hit the Discord button. It is free to join. You can check out the Staff Basketball Bets channel to find all of my college basketball bets in there. So I want to get some clarity from you. Are you saying Duke's interior defense is improving by your observation? Because at least right now on paper, Florida State, their best offensive ranking is in near proximity field goal percentage, and Duke is outside the top 100 there. And if you look just in ACC play, Florida State's number 2 overall in the ACC on 2-point field goal attempts. Duke's number 9 in ACC play defending 2-point field goal attempts. So just give me some clarity here on what exactly you mean with Duke's interior defense.
Yeah, so when you look at overall this season, I was actually kind of surprised to see it. Points allowed in the paint per game, Duke ranks 81st in the 81st percentile. So percentage of points in the paint, it dips to the 65th percentile. But my point was, this isn't as bad. This isn't like a rim funnel defense, truly susceptible around the basket like you would expect for a team that doesn't have an elite shot blocker.
Yeah, I think the one thing I am completely confident about is Duke's ability to score points in this game, to be honest with you. They're top 4 across the board in ACC play in most of the offensive numbers, except for free throw shooting. But they should get at least a ton of free throw attempts. FSU's defense fouls a lot. They are dead last in the ACC in free throw attempt to field goal attempt ratio. And FSU's bottom 5 in ACC play in effective field goal percentage, offensive rebounding allowed, and 2-point field goal percentage. So at the very least, I think Duke's going to score in this game. Now, I know your number makes this spread a little inflated. I mean, I think that's naturally going to come at this point of the season with any Duke game. They're just a very popular public side. But I'm very confident that we're going to get a lot of points in this game at least a lot of free throw attempts. So that's kind of why I'm leaning to the over here, Eli.
No, it's fair. And you go back to North Carolina Duke, just for instance, and I know Duke's has been a little bit more reliable than you would expect inside the paint defensively, but in that game, Baycott, see, it depends how Florida State plays this, because FSU doesn't have your traditional low post big. They rely on getting points in transition, which Duke can be vulnerable in, like I said, if they're turning the basketball over. In the half court, it's a little bit of a different story, but you look at that UNC game in the Dean Dome, and Baycott had his way with Filipowski and then some. FSU doesn't have a traditional low post back to the basket big like Baycott can be. I know he's been a little bit more inconsistent, but generally speaking, he is pretty reliable on the low block when UNC gets him enough touches and gets him involved. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Leonard Hamilton plays this in the half court.